Qatar is waging a soft jihad against the United States, poisoning children with anti-American narratives. Some of it requires explanation, but most of it is happening in plain sight. Look at this video. It was published by Al Jazeera Plus, and it has the wonderful title, "The Constitution Sucks. Here is how we change it." On YouTube, the same video appears under a different name. The US isn't a democracy. Let's take a look at how Qatar wants to fix Americans' supposedly rotten democracy.
It's perhaps the main reason the US remains stuck on so many important issues. So buckle your shoes and powder your wigs as we examine how the Constitution blocks the US from becoming a thriving multiracial democracy and explore what it will take to change it. Do you ever look around and wonder how life in the US got so desperate?
There's an 18th century constitution that is really mal-equipped to solve 21st century problems. What makes the Constitution profoundly flawed is that it doesn't reflect the current needs and values of this country and its people.
That's great, you say, but if the Constitution is so broken, show me a concrete example. Because at its core, the Constitution is all about power, dictating who gets to wield it and how. See, those men in Philly were wealthy, white, and deeply suspicious of the power everyday people might wield in elections.
There is so much to unpack here, but let's start with how Qatar defines the problem. According to them, the United States is stuck, broken, and undemocratic because of its founding document, a document written by white men to preserve power for themselves. And it continues. Let's hear more from Qatar via Al Jazeera about what's wrong with America.
And it all goes back to what?
The Constitution rooted in slavery, rooted in exclusion, excluding women, excluding anyone who did not own property, excluding anyone who was not a man.
This is real. It's a document that at its core is written by white men who wanted to build themselves a country on land violently taken from native people.
The US Constitution is not just pro-slavery. It also was built through a project of settler colonialism.
So if Americans wanted to redraft their Constitution to make it more representative of today's values and demographics, what would they have to do? This difficulty is a big reason why life in the US can feel like running on a hamster wheel, facing the same battles around guns and abortion and countless other issues and not getting anywhere. Meanwhile, other countries are making real progress.
You don't look to the US as a model of what to put in your constitution. You look to other countries that protect newer forms of rights.
So according to this video, the US is stuck, undemocratic, racist, and ruled by white men. And much of it, we are told, stems from an outdated constitution that refuses to evolve. Interesting, right? I personally think that the United States is one of the great lights of the modern world, the country that led the West into its greatest era of prosperity. And the Constitution, we, the people of the United States, is one of the most important documents of the modern age. But the real question is, who is behind this video and what is the goal? The video comes from Al Jazeera Plus, a direct arm of the Qatari government. And here is something critical that many people in the West don't understand, because they take their freedoms for granted. In dictatorships, and Qatar is an Islamic dictatorship, the media doesn't report reality or expose problems. Its purpose is to serve the regime and educate the population. What Qatar is doing here is trying to educate American youth, to tell them they are growing up in a racist, undemocratic, corrupt country. And let's pause for a second and look at who is saying this. Qatar, a country whose constitution is the Quran, a 7th century text enforced through Sharia law. Under Sharia, men can marry 9-year-old girls. Living Islam is punished by death. Women are property. There is no freedom of speech, religion, or protest. Homosexuals are executed. And this country is lecturing Americans about building a multicultural democracy. You might say, come on, it's just one video. Al Jazeera has millions of programs. So let's see how Al Jazeera Plus describes itself. Al Jazeera Plus is a unique digital news and storytelling project promoting human rights and equality, holding power to account, and amplifying voices of the powerless. Yes, human rights, Qatar's specialty. Qatar is not only an Islamic dictatorship, it is home to hundreds of thousands of modern-day slaves. There is no other way to describe it. Migrant workers, mainly from Southeast Asia, with no rights, serving Qatari citizens. Thousands, 6,000, died building World Cup stadiums, a World Cup Qatar got by bribing FIFA officials. Qatar looks far closer to Afghanistan than to the West. Don't let the skyscrapers fool you. The Emir of Qatar is closely tied to the Muslim Brotherhood and one of its major supporters. The main difference between Qatar and Afghanistan is that Qatar chooses soft jihad, or more accurately, both soft jihad and hard jihad. Qatar's connection to Al-Qaeda, Bin Laden, Taliban, Hamas, and other jihadist organizations are well documented. This video is about soft jihad. The Muslim Brotherhood understood long ago they cannot defeat the West with bombs, so they will conquer it from within. They will use democracy to destroy democracy, as they themselves wrote in a Muslim Brotherhood memo. The process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process. The Muslim Brothers must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers so that it is eliminated and God's religion is made victorious. And they openly admit this in their own words.
We do not want to melt into American society and disappear. We want to go into American society with Islamic ideals and revamp their thinking. We want to revamp them. We want to turn them into Muslim individuals. We shouldn't have feelings of a distaste for them or intolerance because they're potential Muslim. Education is one of the most important areas that Muslims have to address. And while our final objective, is not just to become part of the system that we experience now and that we see. Our final objective is to create our own Islamic systems, and not only create Islamic systems for Muslims, but to look at all the other people who are sharing this country with us as potential Muslims. And in that long-range process of making America Muslim, all of America Muslim.
So before it was by the sword, now it's getting themselves into parliament and then making laws that act as the sword, the Islamophobia law in Canada, M103.
Yeah.
Muslim Brotherhood. I find that there are only two things which are open to our movements: ballot or bullet, nothing in between.
I used to say that democracy is haram. Now I say participation in democracy is our jihad. That's our jihad. We're gonna fight not through the bullets, but the ballot.
Going to the ballot and voting is now an obligatory action, fard ayn, and it is a jihad that is now needs to be done because this is our modern jihad. You can elect a person who wants the Sharia.
Because in the United States, what we do know is that in the past election, just this last election, there have been over 800 Muslim candidates running for office.
We may end up with about 50 members of Congress in the next 6 years. That's really the essence of dismantling the system of injustice, is to replace it with the people who represent the Prophet ﷺ.
This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be a part of, Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home.
One thing I always think when I watch these clips, if America is so terrible, why don't you go back to the wonderful countries you came from? Somalia, Libya, Yemen, Syria. There is nothing morally, socially, or politically that Muslim countries do better than the West. If you don't agree, prove me wrong. Write in the comments how Muslim immigration made your country better. Did the crime rates go down? Nobel Prize winners went up? Do women feel safer walking down the streets? There is only one thing countries like Qatar do better than the West: understand how the other side thinks. Qatar understands how the West thinks, and they exploit it. Al Jazeera and Al Jazeera Plus exist to weaken the West from the inside, using Western terminology. They press exactly the buttons that make American youth doubt their own country, using progressive language. This narrative appeals perfectly to privileged, narcissistic young people who are taught to believe that all the world's problems are because of them, because of their culture, their history, their country. I'm the racist, I'm the colonizer, I'm the oppressor, and therefore I am also the savior. I hate to break it to you, sunshine, and Qatar will never say this, but the reason most Muslim countries are dictatorships has nothing to do with your skin color. The fact that slavery was common in the Muslim world long before and long after it existed in Europe has nothing to do with your ancestors. The persecution and disappearance of minorities in the Muslim world has nothing to do with European colonialism. And the fact that the worst countries on earth to be gay are almost all Muslims has nothing to do with your pronouns. It has nothing to do with the West and everything to do with the values of Muslim societies governed by Sharia law that Qatar is holding. Media is one arm of Qatar's soft jihad. Education is the second. Qatar has invested billions of dollars in American education in the past decade. Think about that. Why would a small Islamic dictatorship pour so much money into educating American children? Because they are nice or because they want to wage soft jihad? Below this video, I will link an article and research by Ella Kainan about the soft war of Qatar and the Muslim Brotherhood against the West, including the concept of knowledge poisoning, which I will talk about next week. The links include dozens of examples of pro-Islamic education in the US, from first grade through universities. Qatar pushes the same narrative. America is racist, colonialist, evil. And the clearest results of Qatar's influence, which we've seen very clearly over the last 2 years, are the Islamist indoctrination of American students regarding the conflict between Israel and the Islamist organizations Qatar funds. The violent demonstrations were too organized, too orchestrated. American students who say nothing about the wars in Syria or Yemen, the students who are silent about the uprising of the people of Iran against the Islamic regime, the American students who don't care about the genocide of Christians in Africa, woke up on October 8, 2023 and started to protest against Israel. Is it a coincidence that universities that received Qatari money saw far more violent incidents against Jews? But it is not just violence. With hundreds of millions of dollars, and no country even comes close to the amount Qatar spends, Qatar creates courses, materials, and seminars that are later used by Islamist organizations. Take, for example, materials from an organization called Teaching While Muslim. Why do American students need to learn about Palestine, a national identity formalized in the 1960s? Maybe it would be better to know about the Jewish people who gave the world the Bible and have a 3,000-year-old connection to the land of Israel. Qatar is an Islamist state spreading anti-Western, anti-American, and of course, anti-Israeli propaganda through media, social networks, and education, from first grade to PhDs. It's a wolf wrapped in a progressive wool. I will leave many links for those who want to go deeper, but the fruits of Islamist influence are already visible. The danger that Europe and the US will look in a few decades like Yemen, Afghanistan, or Syria is real. Western values are under threat, and Qatar is the most dangerous agent of chaos. The American Constitution doesn't suck. Sharia law does. Awareness is the first step. Action is the second. Please share this video, comment, and give it a like. Thank you to all my supporters. Only because of you, I can keep going. See you in the next video. Yalla bye.